To the story now, the Abathembu Royal Family says it has appointed a delegation to help provide clarity on King Dalindyebo's visit to Israel. The king has been under heavy criticism for his controversial trip and his backing of the country's continued and deadly war in Gaza. Two royal houses of the AmaNdungwana and AmaQiya, who are part of the Thembu nation, have since come out guns blazing against the king's trip, calling for a meeting over his leadership and conduct. To respond to the royal family's explanation for the king's visit, I'm joined now by the royal house, one of the representatives, at least, of the royal houses represented in that disassociation, Inkosi Vulisango Pantshwa, and we are, of course, also looking forward to hearing from Inkosi Njalo of the Royal House of the AmaNdungwana, still battling to make that connection. But Your Majesty, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time and for coming on this afternoon. First, let's begin with your letter of disassociation, which you have written. So you disassociate yourself and distance yourself from that particular visit by King Dalindyebo. What did you hope to achieve with that disassociation?
Good afternoon, Thabo. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, Buti. As these two royal houses of AmaNdungwana and AmaQiya, we saw on TV when the king was coming back from Israel, which we were surprised. And then we waited for the king to issue a statement of what actually made him to visit Israel. And we heard the cry from the people outside, and the time was moving. Then we decided as these two royal houses to make sure that let's put our stand known by the nation that we were not part of that trip to Israel by the King Buyelekhaya. Therefore, all the nation and the country should not actually bind us with one blanket that the Abathembu nation sanctioned the king to visit apartheid Israel.
Yeah. Now, consequently to that, we've had two things or maybe more happen. One, firstly, is that statement by the Abathembu would have come out to say, well, we have now appointed a delegation that is going to engage the presidency, that is going to engage DIRCO, but also open to engage the lower houses. But this they will not do on the media because they believe that is against the protocol. What has happened since that undertaking to say, well, we are prepared to engage, but we have appointed this delegation? So firstly, from your point of view, the appointment of the delegation, how do you view that, and what has happened since?
No, we haven't had any delegation that has approached the presidency or the government. And secondly, let me clarify one thing, Thabo, that we saw on that statement. Something that says we've had a concern from the junior houses. I want us to put it straight on the record. It is a well-known fact that AmaNdungwana and AmaQiya are very senior in the Thembu nation. Therefore, it is very unfortunate for the king advisor to say that these are the junior houses. We are the senior house, so that's what I wanted to clarify first, and then come to the fact that we came on, we took out a statement to the media. It was the fact that they were quiet. Now they responded once we sent out a statement to the nation and Abathembu at large.
Now, the other explanation, I suppose, is that which comes from the Israeli embassy in South Africa that says, well, the visit was about ensuring that there is help for children who are suffering heart problems in South Africa. What do you make of that explanation?
We don't believe that Israel can be interested in the Abathembu nation's kids, whilst they've wiped out even small children in Gaza. Therefore, we think that the king's trip to Israel was more personal than the help or the aid of the Abathembu nation in general.
Let's talk then about some of the reporting that has gone on. I mean, I see some publications saying the royal houses are calling for the king to be dethroned after his visit to Israel. Is that what you're calling for?
Well, what we are saying to the Thembu nation and the nation at what, especially Abathembu, we are saying because of many instances where we see that the king has transgressed, which there are many. Like for instance, as I mentioned one day, is that the king lambasted his brother, the Eastern Cape Province Premier, Mr. Mabuyane, and he said his buttocks will feed the Thembu pigs. Before that, he broke the homestead or the kraal of Abathembu at Bumbane. And even if you can remember a long time ago when the stalwart of the world, Rolihlahla Mandela, there was a big fight whereby he saw at him and the late premier of then, Mr. Stofile. Now all these are culminating into a fact that Abathembu, especially AmaNdungwana, must guide and see whether do we think that the king is still fit to sit in that throne.
Are there established protocols within the Abathembu clan on how to deal with these matters? Because I get a sense that the two houses, the AmaNdungwana and the AmaQiya, are calling for accountability in terms of how the king would conduct himself in the normal carrying out of business as king of the clan.
The protocols, when you deal with the fitness of the king or the traditional leader or Inkosi, is a known fact in our custom that once you become the king or the chief, you must be exemplary. This is what we are calling for. That when we converge as all the houses or the houses of Abathembu, we must see to it that is he really still fit to be there? And that custom is not new, it's known.
And we are, I believe, now also joined by Inkosi Dalindyebo. Good to have you, Your Majesty, and thank you very much for your time. Let me get your view. What message are you sending as the royal houses, particularly to the Abathembu nation, regarding this particular matter on questions of leadership and question of accountability? Inkosi Dalindyebo, I hope you can hear me. Okay, I think you are muted there. If you can unmute your microphone and we'll be able to hear you there. Your Majesty, if you can. Okay, we seem to have a technical difficulty there in as far as that is concerned. Let me come back to you then, Nkosi Vulisango. What steps now are you going to take? Because we are told that there's a delegation that's been appointed. You are saying there has been no such delegation sent to DECO or to the presidency. There's been no such engagement. So what steps are you to take now?
What we are doing now, we've started to do in the coming 3 months, will be having a big gathering or convocation in the simple terms, that as all the houses of Abathembu and the people of Abathembu in general, and find out and putting straight to AmaDlomo, because remember, King Buyelekhaya comes from the Dlomo clan, which is part of Abathembu, that out of all what has happened in the past years, do we still keep King Buyelekhaya as the face of our nation? Then that meeting will take a guidance on that, and then it will lead us to the right direction. Then that process will be kicking in, and then we think that in 3 months' time, we'll have conversed as Abathembu nation.
We appreciate your time, Your Majesty, and thank you very much for coming on. That's Inkosi Vulisango there, and he is representing the two royal families, the AmaQiya, AmaNdungwana as well. Well, he represents the AmaQiya. We would have loved to get a word as well from Inkosi Gcinizibele, but unfortunately we couldn't get his connection.